Do you know which JavaScript APIs have rocketed up in usage in the previous year? Do you know which frameworks are gaining popularity and which frameworks are, well, basically dying? And do you know how much are developers, JavaScript developers, earning based on their experience? Well, that's exactly what you'll find out in this video. I will go over State of JavaScript survey results and try to uncover as many interesting and useful things as I can find. Let's dig in. Okay, this is the State of JavaScript survey website. You're gonna find the link in the description if you want to check the results yourself, and you probably should. One thing to note is that this survey was conducted at the end of 2021, but the results were published just recently, so they're absolutely relevant. The survey is organized by Sasha Grief. Thank you so much, Sasha, for organizing this. It's a tremendous resource that helps a lot, as you'll see in this video, and a lot of people helped make it happen, and you're gonna find their profiles right here, so make sure to check their social media and give them a follow. They definitely deserve that. I will not be going into all areas of this survey. I will just focus on a few key parts that I found the most interesting and that I think that we can learn something from. First, we're gonna dig into demographics to see who took part in the survey. So 16,000 people, or actually more than 16,000 people, took part in this survey. Well, this in no way represents our industry as a whole, but it could give us a little bit of an insight into where the things are heading or where things are right now. We're gonna focus here on the age, experience, gender, and race parts of the survey, and you're gonna see why in a bit. Let's jump to age. So most people who filled out the survey are between 24 and 44 years old, but there are also people who are older than 65 and younger than 10 who actually try to keep up with the state of JavaScript, and that is a really fascinating and a beautiful thing to see. Let's look at the experience. Most people have between 2 and 20 years of experience, and this just shows us that our industry is maturing. There are people of various levels of experience participating in, well, surveys like this. There are people who are just starting out who filled out the survey, and there are people who are in the industry for quite a while now. Really beautiful thing to see. And next thing we're gonna look is the gender. And this right here is the depressing part of the survey, because more than 70% of people who fill this out are men. And just as well, if we look at the race, more than 50% of people who fill this out are white. So people who are not white and not men are somehow discouraged from participating in surveys like this, and this is not where we want to be, because this survey essentially tells us what white men think about our industry at the moment. So if you know somebody who is, well, not white, not man, encourage them to share their opinion. They probably have a different perspective than you have, and you can learn something from them. Make sure you do. Next, we have a disability status, and more than 25% of people who participated said that they experienced some form of disability. The interesting thing to note is that most of the disabilities people experience are really not even listed here. They're not visual, cognitive, hearing, or mobility impairments, which is the disabilities that we usually think about when we think about, well, accessibility or disability. So this can be a really good pointer how important it is to optimize and develop for accessibility. So you shouldn't treat it as an afterthought. You should treat it as a first-class citizen. You should focus on it from the start of the development process, because you don't want to leave 25% or potentially 25% of your users unable to access or use your app, website, or whatever it is you're developing. So if a client, management, or whoever tells you that you don't have a budget for accessibility, you can point them to this graph. 25% of people might not be able to access our app. Are we really ready to let those people go? This could be a significant portion of our audience. And sure enough, you should get the approval for the budget, for the cost, for whatever it is you need to develop websites that are, well, accessible as possible. Next, we're going to look at the yearly salaries, or salaries that people reported in this survey, and let's see what we find. So most people seem to be earning between $50,000 per year and $100,000 per year, but if we expand this, you're going to see that we can actually encompass salaries from $10,000 per year to $200,000 per year, which is really big range. And this doesn't tell us a lot. It just means that you could be earning, well, basically anything from zero to more than $200,000 per year. Not really helpful. So let's see if the country where you live makes a difference. So if we look at the salary ranges, we're going to find that the United States is standing out, or people who are from the United States are earning quite a bit more than people from other countries. And after the United States, you're going to find other first world countries like Australia, Switzerland, or countries from European Union who would belong into the second range. And those are pretty much similar here. They're earning between maybe $50,000 to even $200,000 per year. And when we come to countries from, well, not European Union, you're gonna find that they are earning quite a bit less than people from European Union, or especially people in United States. So this tells us that the country where you live makes a difference for your salary. But as remote work becomes more and more prevalent, we're gonna see less and less of those kind of differences. And I think that employers will realize that you should be paid based on your knowledge, based on your ability, and that country of origin, country where you live, doesn't really contribute to that at all. Let's see if degree makes a difference for people's salaries. And it pretty much does not. So whether you have a degree or don't have a degree, you can expect your salary to be in pretty much the similar ranges. Let's look at the experience. And experience, well, really makes a big difference, and that is to be expected. So people with more than 20 years of experience are earning significantly more than people who are just starting in the industry. And this just tells us that experience makes the biggest difference in the salary range you can expect. So if you have between 5 and 10 years of experience, you could be expecting to earn between $50,000 and probably even $200,000 per year. And if you're not within that range, you can maybe look for a raise, you can maybe look for a different role, you can maybe switch a company and find a position where you're valued as most people with your level of experience and knowledge are valued. And another thing we're gonna note here is this basically tells us how much white men are making. And if you're not white men and your salary doesn't fall into one of those ranges, one of those expected ranges, then you can very well ask for a raise, or you can switch to a different company that's going to value you based on your experience and knowledge and not based on your, well, race or gender. So use this data to your advantage. You can and you should. Everybody should be paid based on their value and based on their knowledge. Gender and race have nothing to do with this. Country where you live, nothing to do with this. I hope the industry is going in the right direction, and I'm sure it is. With time, we're gonna get there. We can take little steps right now, and it can start with you. Ask for a raise, switch to a different role, whatever you need to do, because you deserve to be making as much money as your white or male coworkers, most definitely. Go grab that money, you deserve it. Don't feel bad about it. Okay, let's look at the features next. This part of the survey explores adoption levels for various language features and browser APIs. So basically, respondents were answering how familiar are they with certain browser features, language features, and if they already used them. Let's see what we find here. So what we see here is that people know quite a lot, but very few people have heard about all of the features that were mentioned. And this just shows us how much space there is on the web right now to create educational content related to web development, or JavaScript in this case. There are people who never even heard about the feature you're using regularly. So if you think that nobody's gonna find it useful, basically you're wrong. Because there are people who will definitely find it very, very valuable. And even people who know about the feature you wanna write about can probably still learn something new about it, get a fresh perspective on it, or they can just refresh their knowledge in general. So go ahead and write that tutorial, record that video. It's most definitely going to be useful, at least for someone. And now let's look at the specific areas of the features like language and browser APIs. So if we look at those graphs, we're going to find that the knowledge in the industry is slowly increasing. More people have heard about certain features, and more people are using certain features as time goes on. Two of the features that stand out are knowledge coalescing and optional chaining. Now, usage of those features has significantly increased in 2021 compared to 2020. If you want to learn more about optional chaining and knowledge coalescing, let me know in the comments and I will create a separate video and explain a bit more about how they work. We're going to see exactly the same trends in browser APIs as well. Usage is slowly increasing, knowledge is slowly increasing with time. And now let's look at the trends in different libraries. And here you're going to find which libraries are losing popularity, like Gulp, and which libraries are gaining popularity, like Jest, TSC, Webpack, or Express. And you're going to find how satisfied are users of certain libraries. So on top list, you're going to find libraries that people love using and would love to use again. And at the bottom, you're going to find libraries that people really don't like and don't want to use again. So if you're thinking about starting to learn a new library, probably you want to pick some of those libraries in a higher tier list, libraries that people love using, and you might want to stay away from libraries that are significantly losing popularity and that developers really don't like using, or they have said that they would not want to use them again. You're going to find much more info about certain types of libraries like front-end frameworks, back-end frameworks, and more in those sections here. So if you want to learn another front-end framework, for example, you can dig into this section here, and you're going to find various libraries and how satisfied users are with using them. For example, if you want to pick a new library, you're going to want to look at the Solid, Svelte, and React, and not at the Ember and Angular, because those frameworks people apparently really don't like using. Dig into those sections yourself. Next section I would like to explore is library evaluation rankings, and you're going to find this in other tools. And this basically tells us which are the most important factors that people take into consideration when they want to use a certain library. And the fascinating thing is that documentation is #1 thing that people look at even before developer experience, even before user experience. So if you want to create a new library that will be used by, well, community, you want to focus on areas that are of high interest to developers. So make sure you have fantastic documentation, that you create a good developer experience, and that user experience is also very good. And these are basically the most interesting things I personally found in the survey. Now, you want to dig into the survey deeper yourself, so make sure you check the link in the description. And for the conclusion, well, we learned quite a bit. You can use the survey to understand how much you should be making based on the industry averages. You can use this resource to understand which frameworks are popular, which frameworks you should stay away from. And you can use this resource to understand which are the main key areas you should focus on when you're developing like new libraries, new tools, or something like that, specifically for, well, developers. So I hope you found this at least a little bit interesting, a little bit helpful. And make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss my future videos, because I am releasing them weekly. So thank you for your attention. My name is Zoran Jabor. I will see and hear you in the next video.